Joining the Tam Fam today live, Porsha Williams. Welcome, Porsha.
How you guys doing? Hi.
You look beautiful. Welcome to the show.
From
You look
afar,
beautiful.
from afar.
Thank you. Welcome. So
Good to be here.
It is great to have you here because word on the street is you're a little nervous.
Am I?
That's what I was told.
I actually feel really good today.
I'm happy.
Like the energy in your studio is awesome.
I'm so happy to hear that because, you know, we're live, and prior to the show, I was hearing from my team, listen, this is a big interview. She's really laying it all to bear, and she's nervous. And I thought, that is the opposite of Porsha Williams, nervous. And I stopped myself and I said, you know what, that's exactly the problem. We see people and we don't humanize. We think we know the whole story. And now you're giving it to us.
Right, absolutely. You know, I feel like my nervousness is because, you know, the book was a lot for me. It really was. It took me some time to get to the place to be ready to speak to a lot of different things in the book. I knew if I ever did a book, it needed to be 100% honest and transparent. And in order for my book to be effective in the purpose of the book, which is to inspire someone else, tell my testimony so someone else can see themselves in my story, I had to really revisit some very emotional, painful things in my past. And so I was nervous to release that. But
a lot of this didn't even come up on the
now.
show. So a lot of this did not come up on the show.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. I do speak about housewives. I mean, how can I write a whole book and leave out 10 years of my life? But a lot of the book is from childhood, focuses on 20 to 30 years old. Because that's when I really dealt with a lot of pitfalls I found myself in, some bad decisions.
I found it to be so touching and revealing. You talk about your childhood, and one of the things you revealed in the book is that as a child, you had contemplated suicide. You said, I couldn't tell my mom that I'd held a bottle of pills, thinking about swallowing all of them, but deciding against it because I feared I'd be brain dead, and I definitely didn't want that to be. You were a kid. What was causing, or what did you learn was at the heart of these feelings for such a young kid to think about?
At that age, I didn't know what was causing it. I wanted to make sure I discussed it in the book because it's something that parents don't think about.
How old were you when you had your first thought of suicide?
I'm not sure exactly. I can't remember. I was definitely probably around the age of 10, somewhere around there. I had dealt with a lot of bullying in school. I didn't think much of myself, even though I had such a strong mother and a great provider. I had my father there as well. So I had a support system. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because it's not just kids who've been neglected who find themselves in those dark places. And this conversation needs to be had so mothers and their kids, fathers and their kids can talk about this. That was really, really tough for me to revisit, even as a grown woman. Because when you think of depression, now when I think of it now and I identify as, okay, that's depression. I didn't know then, when I took the scarf and put it on the door, what that action was. I didn't really know. All I can say at this moment, it was by the grace of God to save me in that moment. Because you, as a child, you don't think that once you stop your breath, it doesn't come back. And so I think that's why a lot of children, God rest their soul, we are suffering from that now in our nation. A lot of kids have died from suicide. So I want to talk about that. But by passing through that as a child, I kept facing those same demons over and over. And that's what the book traces, that whole journey.
You also, from childhood to your point, young adulthood, reveal something I did not know, and I don't think many people knew, this relationship with R.Kelly. And you write about him. I wanted to believe I wasn't a girl he was locking in his room to use whenever he wanted. You kept your interactions with him a secret. When he started to be accused of these crimes against young girls, and then it escalates, and then it's on trial, and he's convicted, were you thinking, I've got to tell? Or did you think, I don't want to be in the middle of this?
You know, putting R. Kelly's name in the book, because some people I named, some people I didn't name, and putting his name in the book, it's just putting a name to another face that I had already encountered before. He had just been one of the men who was a predator in my life, who had taken advantage of me and mentally abused me in my life. So I saw him no different than those same men. That same darkness, that same treatment, they faced and met the same Porsha who did not know her self-worth. I didn't love myself. I didn't see who I was in those situations. You know, I was a grown woman. I had a penthouse in Buckhead. I had my own business. I wasn't your usual so-called victim. But because as a young woman, I did not value who I was, I only wanted to be what someone else thought I needed to be.
You wrote in
so
this
that's how I
book-
found myself in those situations.
You wrote, which I think it's interesting how you say you found yourself in these situations. I felt when I was reading it, is she blaming herself for some of this? And you wrote, I'm of R.Kelly at the time. I'm in his bedroom. I've already been in his house for hours. It's 3 or 4 in the morning. I've already put myself in this position. This is what you're supposed to do. You have to do it. There's no turning back. That's what you wrote about your first one of the sexual encounters. And I thought, why is she saying this? I put myself in this position.
When I wrote those moments in the book and being that detailed, I had to go back to that mind frame. And a lot of victims do blame themselves.
Yeah.
They honestly do. We think, the public could tell you, anybody could tell you there's every reason why you should not be there. So that causes you to blame yourself. So I did a lot of victim blaming, a lot of shaming of myself. And that's what silenced me for a very long time to speak out on any of the sexual abuse that I encountered in my life. And I often thought about, oh my gosh, especially when I got on Housewives, it was like, I have this platform, you know, people are starting to know me. Let me start using my voice. But I just felt so small still. I wasn't ready. I hadn't healed and gotten to the place to be able to speak up like those women did on the R.Kelly special. You know, us as victims, we have to get to a place and deal with what we went through and what our mind frame was at the time to be able to speak out and help somebody else.
It is very powerful. I do have to note that we reached out to R. Kelly's representatives for comment, and we did not hear back. Here we go. I woke up this morning, social media, tabloids, all reacting to the episode that just aired of your show.
Yes.
Your fiance, Simon. When is the
Hi,
wedding?
boo.
When is the wedding?
Right now, we haven't set our date. We are dating right now. He's still courting me, you know, in the
Wait,
South.
how are you
there's a
engaged in
courtship.
dating?
You don't date your husband?
No, I married him.
You should be dating. You should be
yeah.
keeping the excitement going. We're
But
enjoying each
you're
other.
engaged to be married.
Right, and I'm still his special sweetheart. We are in the honeymoon phase. We're enjoying each other. Yeah, it'll come.
Okay.
And you don't need to be dating.
We date.
Date nights are important. It's important.
When he proposed, we set a wedding date, and we followed through.
Yes, but you know, you want to still keep up that nice feeling, getting dressed.
So will a wedding date prevent you from doing that?
You know, in the South, we call it.
I'm Southern.
We call it the courtship moment. And he's still just treating me so special. We just bought a home together. We're about to move in. We've got so much going on that
You're buying I'm Southern. You're buying a home before married? That breaks a Southern rule.
No, we bought a home. We already bought the home. We've closed already.
I do believe the wedding is going to proceed. I think you're holding something back. I don't know what it is. You are. I'm just being honest with you. So Simon, well, this perhaps is why. So Simon revealed on the show that his grandfather had 25 wives. That's a lot. And that prompted you apparently to ask him if he'd ever cheat. He responded, if he'd ever cheated. And he responded, of course, everybody has cheated, which is true for some people, not everybody. And then people started commenting, believing that you were setting yourself up for a problematic relationship again.
Let's start with he's Nigerian. Hello.
What does that mean?
It's his culture. It's his culture. It's the Nigerian culture. They are allowed and is open to have multiple wives. Some have 2. His father had 2. Grandfather had 25. 60-something grandkids. Yeah. But, you know, Simon has been in America since he was about 17 years old. And I'm American. Yeah. So we're going to have 1 wife and 1 husband.
the show is called It's My Relationship, Not Yours. And your family has come in and people have stepped in. And one of the questions that repeatedly comes up is, was there some type of line crossed with a friend in the show that has set you off on this journey where people feel like they should chime in? So the backstory for people who don't know, Simon was introduced on the show with his then wife, Fallon. At some point, that marriage ended, and you and Simon announced on social media that you were a couple. Mm-hmm. People seemed to believe that you'd crossed a friend line, that you'd broken some girl code. What is the real story here?
And that's okay. You know, I dealt with everybody's opinions, but really it was the emotion of my supporters. Because they, you know, like, oh my gosh, Porsha wouldn't dare do this. Oh my gosh, she's a husband stealer and all that. Listen, I'm on a show. Real Housewives of Atlanta is a show meant for entertainment. When we bring people on the show to try out to be casted, they have to be brought in by another cast member. And sometimes those things are kind of put in a way other than how it actually is.
So it's fake. You weren't really friends.
I'm not gonna, I wanted to be. What I wanted for her was to introduce her into the show for her to be a housewife. But it didn't work out. She ended up wanting to be friends with someone else, and you know,
my head is spinning.
Long story short, they didn't choose her.
Yeah.
Was she a friend of mine? No. She was going to be casted on the show. It didn't work out for her. Simon and I actually have mutual friends, and I've met him over the years here and there. And, you know, so for me, there was no personal connection with her when it came to him. So that's the thing that people didn't know that caused them to really, like, come hard at me. And it's okay. You know, I'm a grown woman. I know that I'm on Housewives, and it looks a certain way, and you're gonna have your opinions. And sometimes we ask for your opinions. If I wanna be successful and show my personal life, then I'm asking for your opinions. And so may not always match up, but now hopefully people get what's happening.
And what is happening is that you feel you have found true love.
Well, she's just delivered a baby, so congratulations. It's in order. She's engaged, so all adults involved are happy. Yeah.
The bottom line is, though, you have found someone you believe that is your life partner.
That is my life partner, for sure, absolutely. Well, I'm in love. I'm just so blessed to be in this place in my life. You know, when you get to a place where you're living in your truth and you really get to know yourself, during quarantine, I really looked at myself. That's when I wrote this book. To know yourself is to truly love yourself. All my faults, everything in that book, ups and downs, mistakes, bad decisions, I love Porsha and I know Porsha. So when I presented me to this man, Simon, he was meeting me in my truest self. So I knew my decision to say yes, no matter how fast it was. Well, I trusted my decision.
The speed doesn't listen. The speed, all of it are your decisions that you've made.
Yeah.
And most important, and besides the drama, whether it's real or not on the show, I deeply admire how vulnerable you were in talking about suicide as it relates to children and sexual abuse that far too many women experience and suffer in silence. For that, I applaud what you've done. Thank you.